the UK, the government has announced a ban on the sale of all new cars with combustion engines from 2030. Now, at the time, it felt like quite a long way away, and it still is in some regards. But if you think about it, there are many cars in showrooms now that are going to either have to be ditched or replaced with electric versions in less than a decade. There are many car makers that are well on track to meet the deadline. I mean, Tesla have been dancing the electric fandango since day one. But there are some car makers that are less advanced in terms of their electric plans. I'm looking at Dacia, Suzuki, Seat, and the less said about Aston Martin, the better. But there are many that are much more prepared. I'm looking at Mercedes. They have been working very, very hard lately. They've been very busy releasing electric versions of their conventional cars. So then, when the time comes, they will whip out their magic wand and poof, all of their petrol and diesel engines will vanish. So today, we're going to have a little look at this. This is the Mercedes EQB, which is an electric SUV, and it runs parallel and is based on the GLB. So, is this EQB good enough to make its petrol sibling redundant? Well, let's find out. Izzy Wizzy, let's get busy. Woo!
Mercedes' EQ range of EVs is already pretty impressive. We've reviewed the EQA and EQC, and there's an electric version of the V-Class called, you guessed it, EQV. Next up is the EQB, a smallish 7-seat electric SUV that, if you squint, almost looks like a scaled-down G-Wagon with no grille, because electric cars don't need grilles. Either side of that fake grille are new energy-saving LED lights, while there's a full-width light bar connecting the rear lights, which really enhances visibility at night. Like the scrolling indicators that are so common nowadays, you're going to see a lot of these in future. The EQB's GLB sibling is priced from just over 37 grand here in the UK, but would you care to guess how much the EQB will cost? Wrong. Put a 5 at the beginning instead. So surely that extra 15 grand or so gets you a complimentary gold bar in the glove box or something?
This can't be... Am I in the right car? Because this feels like I'm just sat in a GLB... Oh, no, circular vents. Yeah, there's blue bits of trim. Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm in the electric car. I'm only joking. Look, the extra money that you're going to spend goes on the bits that you don't see, like electric motors and batteries, for example. Now, the GLB has always had one of the best interiors that you can buy today. So luckily, nothing has changed in this transition to EV SUV. So it is dominated by these two very nice 10.25-inch screens that are connected by this black bezel here in the middle, and they just look so crisp and gorgeous. The graphics are just lovely. Now you can either use the touch screen, which is great, or you can use this touchpad here in the middle, which is a lot more intuitive than you might expect, actually. And it's got handwriting recognition built in. There is voice activation for the infotainment system, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and on this steering wheel you've got plenty of buttons to control everything while you're driving. There is ambient lighting, which looks very nice at night, and the materials all look and feel really lovely. I mean, there are some hard plastics, but you don't really come into contact with them very often. That's all very lovely in here.
Full specifications will be announced shortly, but we'd expect the EQB to match the EQA in offering Sport and AMG line trim levels, with Premium and Premium Plus packs available on the latter. Standard goodies include 18-inch alloy wheels, LED headlights, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, while AMG line gets sport seats with provided extra support where you need it. The equipment packs bring you more equipment such as bigger wheels, keyless entry, and a panoramic glass sunroof that really brightens the interior. It's a shame that the sunroof doesn't come as standard in the UK, but it's an option we definitely add. Now, let's take a gander at the two of the EQB's biggest selling points, those rear seats.
You've probably already noticed that this is the left-hand drive German spec, which only comes with 5 seats. But the UK version, well, they'll all come with 7, and we have tested those out. Those rear seats back there are not designed for you if you're an adult, unless you're quite happy to travel round with your knees at your ears. They're perfect for kids. And they're going to have ISOFIX points as well in both of those seats, one at the front and here in the middle, which is quite unusual. Now there's a reason why those rear seats are so small, and that's because the underpinnings of this car is shared with the A-Class, as in the family hatchback. But the big boxy SUV body means that in here, look at all this room. So much legroom, so much headroom. Shoulder room is fantastic as well. If you want to compare this with a conventional car, then its competition is the Land Rover Discovery Sport or the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace. Oh, and also these seats all fold down separately, so it makes it nice and easy for the kids to get in the back and frees up more boot space. Talking of boot space, poof!
As you may have guessed, with all 7 seats in use, which I know you can't see here, but you're going to have to take our word for it, you're going to have to send everyone's luggage to your destination in a separate car. Or restrict everyone to a single pair of pants for their holiday, because it's kind of tiny. But with the rear pair of seats folded away into the floor, the EQB's boot has a very respectable 465 litres of space, which is much more useful. That's enough for a couple of full-size suitcases or a week's worth of food shopping, and of course there's an extendable luggage cover to hide your cargo when the middle row of seats are raised. Fold those down and you've got an estate like 1,710 litres to work with.
Now at the moment, every EQB comes with 2 motors, one for each axle for the 4-wheel drive. So a little bit like the GLB, the EQB is geared up for comfort, so the suspension is just really good at soaking up the lumps and bumps in the road, but it's not the best at keeping everything on a nice even keel when you're on a twisty turny country roads. When it's moving, however, it is very refined, very swift. It rolls along really smoothly. Now with the extra weight of the battery, it means the chassis moves in a softly calm, comfortable fashion. So what it does is it encourages a calm, relaxing driving manner, which is just in keeping with the EQB ethos. But yeah, a little bit of body roll on corners and it's not exactly what you would call fun to drive.
The entry model is the EQB 300, which delivers 225 brake horsepower, enough for 0 to 62 in 8 seconds. Fork out a bit more for the 288 brake horsepower EQB 350, that's what we've got here, and you'll be able to get there in 6.2 seconds. Both get the same 66.5 kilowatt hour battery and both claim a range of 260 miles. But on a very cold, miserable winter's day like today, that's closer to 200 miles. EV batteries don't like the cold, especially when they have to deal with the extra demand from heated seats and the climate control. A Skoda Enyaq costs less, but covers more miles on a charge. However many miles you can squeeze out of the battery, DC rapid charging at up to 100 kilowatts means the EQB has the same top-up times as the EQA. So an 80% charge takes 30 minutes. That's more than enough time to visit the little girl's room and grab a skinny macchio whatever at the motorway services. And maybe a bar of chocolate. Once you're home, if your electrics allow, then you can use the 11 kilowatt onboard charger. More relevant for most will be charging from a 7 kilowatt wall box, which will get the EQB back to 100% overnight.
As with every EV, you have regenerative braking that puts power back into the battery when you slow down. So you can change the braking effect by lifting your foot off of the accelerator. At the highest setting, it brakes quite quickly, but we would call that one pedal driving. So you can basically do most of your journey without touching the brakes at all, just using the accelerator. Now we have a top speed of 99 miles an hour, which some of you might go, well, that's really slow, but be honest with me, right? Look me in the eye, okay? When was the last time you drove that speed on UK roads without then getting a really grainy black and white picture of yourself behind a steering wheel through the post a couple of weeks later? Now we would recommend sticking with the EQB 300 because that's got more than enough performance, and the instant torque actually whisks along this big SUV body at a very nice pace. Or better still, you can wait a bit because it won't be long now. Joining the range will be a less powerful front wheel drive called the 250.
Right, let's have a look at the Dealmakers and Dealbreakers for the Mercedes EQB. Yes, the rear seats are only for small people, but this is a perfect EV for larger families. Just look at that lovely dashboard. Not only does it look sensational, but it also features plenty of quality materials. And that feeling of quality is further emphasised by the smooth, quiet driving experience. There's a fair old price gap between the GLB and the EQB, at least until the two-wheel drive version of the EQB arrives, making this quite a pricey family car. Plus, with an official range of 260 miles, the EQB isn't as competitive as, say, Volkswagen ID.4 or a Skoda Enyaq.
Yes, Mercedes are definitely on track to releasing electric versions of all of their cars ahead of a number of manufacturers. But while the cars are perfectly good, they're still, certainly in the case of this EQB, quite expensive. Now, it's not to say this isn't a great car, because it is a great car. And the 7-seat gorgeous interior is definitely going to win this SUV a lot of fans. I mean, it's not the best drive, but it deals with the UK's rutted roads really well, and refinement is excellent. But I just don't think that many people need the reassurance of four-wheel drive. So we'd be tempted to wait and see what that cheaper two-wheel drive is going to be like when it's released. Poof!
If you enjoyed this video, then why not watch our review of the Volkswagen ID.4 or our electric cars playlist. Thanks for watching.